Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 114 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and Damon. How's it going, guys?
Good. Pretty good. I didn't choke this time.
You didn't show? Yeah, I actually left it in because I listened to it and I was like, I can't take this out. It's just kind of funny. I just thought it was kind of funny, even though you were choking on something. But
yeah, I just made sure I didn't inhale while I was trying to drink this time.
That's an important lesson. I think, but see, I think we all know that, and we all still do it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's little steps.
Yeah, exactly. So. Damon, I thought of you today because I went to I did some shopping today, and I wanted to make some cupcakes this afternoon, but I'm not making them from scratch. I just bought some Funfetti cupcake mix, and I was like, Damon's just going to be like, "What's wrong with you?"
I rarely make cupcakes from scratch. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, really? So you go boxed? You go boxed?
I usually elevate box, right? So
okay.
I'll take a box recipe and change it a little bit, but. Do they have cupcakes pretty much down pat at this point?
With those boxes, yeah. Funfetti, I love Funfetti. I don't know about you guys. I'm a big Funfetti.
I mean, my daughter does. The problem is that it's very difficult to keep the same sort of airiness to cupcakes unless you make them a lot. Like people that make cupcakes a lot,
yeah,
I'm sure are very good at it. But
yeah.
I don't make them enough to be really good at it. So then you have to kind of take this thing and say, all right, well, it might be better just to elevate regular cupcakes.
Well, I was really thinking this is this is supposed to be like a family activity. It's my daughter's barely, it's not even 3 yet. So I'm like, if we can do a more complicated recipe at some point, but dumping a couple things in a bowl at this point is probably her level. So, so someday, but I also just really like Funfetti. So, but anyway.
Yeah. I'm usually a sucker for like the angel food cake with the Funfetti in it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. But Damon, I saw you were making more cookies. Were you doing like another cookie cook-off or something?
I'm trying to come up with, so again, the differences in gluten between cake flour, bread flour, and all-purpose flour, right? They're all a little bit different. So the Gideon's recipe, I believe, utilized all 3, but it was a little, like I said, a little gooey in the center, which I didn't love. So I decided to kind of take another recipe from Crumble, I guess, is the cookie place's name, and make some adjustments based on the different types of flours to kind of get a different consistency. So the thing with cake flour is that it gives this, sort of browning effect you can have on the top of the cookies. And then, the amount of gluten or protein and bread flour is higher. So it gives it that chewiness. So I've just been kind of messing around. So like I said, I took this Crumble recipe. I think the other thing though, that I wasn't huge fan about is I got to figure out a way. I'm just going to try to cut down the sugar as well. This was a half a cup of white sugar and 1 1/4 of brown sugar, but it might have been a little too much. I'm not sure. And then I half the chocolate chips, maybe, well, it was 2 cups. I think I went 1 1/4. It was still too much for me, honestly. So I'm just playing around with the recipe. That's all. Like I said, messing around with the different flours and things like that and trying to find something that works for me.
Nice. Did you use the rest of that dough that you made for the Gideon's one, or weren't you going to do something different with it or something?
We split that dough. Like I said, we did half of it was covered in chocolate chips and the other half was not covered in chocolate chips. Yeah, it was fine. That recipe is just, it's definitely doughy in the center, and it's got a weird cook on it because of that. Again, making it 100 times, maybe it would be different, but making it once, it was okay. I mean, it was, like I said, it was just okay. This recipe I thought was a little bit better. This was interesting though. This recipe, I also like to go in and do different cooks on them. So I think this one was a 10-minute. So, I go a 9, a 10, and a 14. The 14 one was interesting. It looked like it was burnt, but because of the gluten, it was still chewy. It was interesting. It was pretty good.
So both burnt and slightly undercooked?
It really actually wasn't. It wasn't burnt. It was just very brown. I thought originally it was burnt, and I threw one of them away. And then I was like, let me eat this other one just to see. And it was just really brown. And it had this nice caramelized taste to it. But again, it was still soft because of the gluten in the middle. So it actually was not burnt, but it was just very browned. So it was definitely interesting. I'm learning a lot about chocolate chip cookie chemistry. So again, I'm going to go, I guess I have to make this a point here.
Yeah, because somebody mentioned, why do you keep making chocolate chip cookies?
I like chocolate chip cookies a lot, but chocolate chips can be overwhelming. So it's just a matter of finding that thing. I think not having walnuts is what hurts me. I like walnuts. They change the texture. They're not sugary, right? They kind of give it this different taste, but we normally don't do walnuts first go around on a recipe just because it's harder, right? It changes cook and all that. So maybe next time for these. The other interesting thing is today I bought my wife ruby chocolate. So what they say, this is the first new cocoa bean in the last 100 years, first new chocolate in 100 years.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not white chocolate, but it is pink naturally. It was okay. That's what I'm going to say. It didn't
taste like that much different, or
I don't know what it tasted like. I also only ate a fig and dark nib one. I haven't eaten the regular bar yet, so I'll know probably a little bit more after that. But it was just okay. It was just something different. We all wanted to kind of taste to make sure that I've had ruby chocolate before, right? Like, as a baker, you want to make sure that you have that in your repertoire. So we definitely ordered it, but it's not cheap, and it was just okay. But like I said, once we do the classic bar, which is just ruby, rather than having things added to it, we'll know a little bit more.
Trevor, you're going to say something?
I was just going to back you up on the ruby chocolate thing. It's like, yeah, I've had a couple of instances of trying ruby chocolate, and yeah, I don't know what exactly it is. Like, it doesn't taste like anything amazing. So
yeah, I'm a little disappointed. But
it's just a gimmick, basically.
It's definitely a different bean, right?
Yeah.
It definitely, and it's natural. So when you taste it, remember, white chocolate is not real chocolate. So
yes, that's correct, yeah.
per se. But if you look at this, it's a real chocolate. It's got a pink hue. It's different. It just not great different, just okay different. You know what I mean?
I love white chocolate personally. I know it's not chocolate, but I'm a big white chocolate fan.
Chocolate's nasty.
No, I love white chocolate.
I think the hype around ruby chocolate is just a little too much, though. Like,
I get you.
It's new though, and I think that's always the thing, right? Like, when chocolate is chocolate, chocolate's been around forever. So when you have something that's new, it's like, all right, well, yeah, I want to try it because it's new. It's definitely different.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, that was our cookie and baking segment for. I think it's funny we've been starting the show this way.
I think it's fair because one, we haven't been to Disney in a while, and and so we need something to talk about. But two, a lot of these things do factor into our discussions about like food and wine and stuff like that, right?
Well, I would tell you is that I don't think I would stand online for Gideon's, right? At this point. Now, having just done that recipe and kind of getting some more feedback from other people in general, I would say that if I was able to go up 20 minutes, yeah, okay. Anything past that, I'm just an out on at this point because I kind of know what it's about. I'm sure my cookies were nowhere near Gideon's level. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I understand what they're going for.
What they're like, yeah.
And I'm just, it's not worth anything past a 20-minute wait for me at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go when I get down to Florida, but I don't know when that's going to happen. But I was also looking at the park hours, right? And most of the parks, like the day we're going to go to Magic Kingdom, as of right now, it closes at 6:00. And I was saying to my wife, I was like, at first I was kind of bummed about that, but then I was like, you know what? We can go and like do other stuff. Like, we don't feel like beholden to staying in the park, but I'm sure it's going to change. They'll probably make it later, but nonetheless, I saw that and I was like, 6:00, man. Like, that's usually when we're just perfect. Having dinner. Yeah, like, it's perfect for Damon. Yeah.
I like
it was like, and then the other thing is like Epcot opens at 11 every day. And I'm like, oh man, we can just like kind of sleep in and then, have a nice breakfast and then wander our way into Epcot at 11. That's kind of cool too.
Well, don't you still have to make reservations though?
Yeah. We'll still make reservations and everything. I'm just, you mean for the parks?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah. I already made reservations for each park. So,
well, you can't wander into Epcot then. I mean, you're saying on the days that you have Epcot, you just will go at 11.
Yeah. What I mean is like, because we're staying at Boardwalk, we can just, like once we're done with whatever doing, it's 11:00. It doesn't open till 11. So we can just, we don't have to get up early. We can sleep in. We can, that's what I'm saying more by wander. So, but anyway. So we should get into some of these questions. We got way too many good questions this week, and I apologize if your question's not in here, but I had to winnow them down a little bit. We had a lot of them, and they were all really good. So
I would say that if your question's not on here, and when we ask for questions again, and you like your question, just put it in again. No one,
just put it again.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We have that all the time, where people will put them in a couple of weeks in a row, and we will get to them. It's just we have to be cognizant of time. Is all.
Yeah, and honestly, this isn't like your question's not as good as the questions we're reading. It's sometimes just
Tom doesn't like you. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yes. Tom's selection process is flawed.
Tom is so let's make sure that we're all on the same stage here. It is 100% Dictator Tom's discussion points, and he does not ask for any input from us.
That's not true. You guys can change whatever you want. You can add whatever you want in anytime.
we absolutely do put in our input, but
that's right. Yeah. Although lately I've been doing them later and later at night, the night before, so it's just been too busy during the day. But anyway, so the first one is from Dan, and this isn't really Dan's random question of the week though, because this is an actual Disney question. And he asks, has anyone else organized traveling with a group and some people can't give you a direct or timely answer for what they would like to do on a trip or even when their flights are? I'm frustrated and about to make my own plans and tell them that they're on their own, which would be awkward since we're sharing a 3-bedroom. Thanks. So, David, I know you do.
I have a lot of insight on this, but I'll let you guys go first.
All right. I'll share I have one particular instance of this that happened. So it was in January 2019 where I was meeting up with some friends that I have played online games with for years. And so there was going to be like 8 of us all getting together. And so I sent them all an email saying, hey, I need you to set this up. I need you to get this account set up. And this wasn't even about like larger plans. This was just booking fast passes and dining reservations in Magic Kingdom. And I was getting frustrated as well. So I feel you, Dan. I was getting frustrated because I was telling them, we have a window. If you wait too long on this, we're not going to be able to get any of the rides that we want. And I kept trying to push them to remember to do it. And eventually it got to a point where, so finally at the end, 2 of them ended up not doing anything. And so I ended up booking fast passes for everyone but 2 of them. And when we got to the park, it was, we had our fast passes and we said, hey, I have these booked. I said, you didn't get yours in. So, we're just going to go on this ride. We'll be back in, 20 minutes or whatever. And they ended up going off and, wandering around. We met them somewhere and continued on with our day. So to that end, if people aren't going to cooperate, you do have to kind of cut it off yourself and say, I'm just going ahead and doing this. And if you miss out, you miss out. And in the end, they weren't upset or anything. Like it wasn't like they got offended about it. Honestly, I was probably more offended than they were. But, it was still frustrating because, just trying to get them on board with the idea seemed difficult.
Yeah. And I understand what you're saying because I kind of had a similar thing where my last trip in October where I had my parents with me who, this set of parents, my dad and my stepmother had, my dad hadn't been to Disney since I was like, 5. So, and my stepmother had never been. So they didn't really know what to expect. And I kind of, told them, I was like, listen, we got a full kitchen in this room. We got a 2-bedroom, we can cook in the room if we want to have breakfast there. I was like, so what kind of food do you guys want? And they were just like, whatever, just do whatever you want. Like, and I was like, okay. And I kept pressing them for this. And then the thing that killed me was after the trip, they were like, we really would have liked to do like a sit down breakfast every day. And I'm like, what in the, like, just tell me that and then we'll do it. Like, if you just tell me that we do it. I told you guys we were going to eat breakfast in the room, but if you want to do something else, just tell me. So, it's that kind of stuff and just kind of coordinating, flights. And then, with the plan stuff, they were kind of like, just do whatever, right? Like cause they like, we don't know what we're doing. So we'll go along with whatever you're doing. I think it's easier when the people are staying with you, but it sounds like not so much for Dan here because they are staying with them. But I feel like Dan, you just need to like take control and just do stuff and be like, deal with it. You guys wouldn't tell me about it, so just deal with it. But Damon, I'd like to hear Damon because Damon does this a lot. He travels with other people.
So I think it depends on who they are as well and what that relationship is. To be honest with you,
like family or friends, like is that what you're saying?
So I'm going to give 3 examples because gosh darn it, why not talk a lot, right? Even though I'm excited for, question B, because that's probably one of my favorite questions I've ever thought of. But anyway, that being said, all right. So my parents come with us and my wife's parents come with us sometimes. And that's pretty easy because they're kind of like, do whatever, set up whatever, no big deal, right? So I've never really had problems there. And we stay not in the same room, but in adjoining rooms. So that's been pretty easy. My parents are pretty easygoing. So second, let's see. So the people that we travel with regularly, we've been traveling with for 17 years. So it's really easy for me, but let me explain what we do. So the person on the other family, we allow him full 100% access to just do whatever. So what we do is we link our reservations, and then he can do everything, right? So he can do our dining plans. He can do our fast passes. He does everything for us. And that's okay. Like, would it be exactly how I would want to do it? I mean, it'd be pretty close because I feel like we're on the same wavelength at least, but there's definitely times when we diverge a little bit. But what I would tell you is that that's worked for us. And I've really never had a problem with that. And it becomes a lot easier because you're just letting the one person do whatever. Now, every once in a while, ask me. And we do diverge on usually two things. The first one is they usually do a seafood night where they eat at a restaurant, a seafood restaurant, which we then go on our own, and that's fine. And even this last time, the one day we went to EPCOT in the morning and they went somewhere else, but it was just really half a day. Other than that, we're together all the time, and it works out well for us that way. But again, I don't necessarily care what plans are made, so it's easy. Because I've given control to somebody and it makes it easy for everybody. And sometimes you just have to do that. You have to have one person that's in charge and you give them control, and that's that. And it worked out fine. So we don't even stay at the same places anymore. Some of the times we'll stay at Animal Kingdom together. Sometimes we'll stay separate places. Last time they stayed at Animal Kingdom, we stayed at Saratoga, and it still was no problem. We just met them at the park. They sometimes do some later nights than we do, and that's fine because our fast passes are together and our dining is always together. And then outside of that, you still have a little bit of time on your own. Okay, so that's Disney. I will tell you though, now I had a Hilton Head trip, which seems more along Dan's lines. And I will tell you, this was probably the most frustrating trip I've ever put together. So it was with the same people that we go to Disney with all the time. They're easy. And then probably, the other part was with one of my friends from college, and we were staying at my wife's house, which is, again, this is their Hilton Head house, and it's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, right? So everyone's, so 1, 2, 3, hold on, 4, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, which has now been knocked down and they're waiting to rebuild. But that, we stayed there. And again, what was interesting is that they kind of did everything on their own. Like, they would go to the beach in the morning and set up their stuff and not ask us if we wanted to go. I think the icing on the cake was one night they were just like, hey, no, they were leaving at the house, and they stayed in the room, with the door closed a lot. And we all had kids and stuff like that, but they're they just got up and were leaving. I was like, hey, where are you guys going? And they're like, oh, we're going to get ice cream. Dude, there's 2 other families in this house. Yeah, come on, man. That was actually the start of us not being friends actually anymore. So you have to be careful because people don't necessarily realize what group traveling can mean. And if they're people that you're already having a little bit of a frustrating time with, again, I'm not really friends with them. We never vacationed again with that family. And like I said, I'm not really even friends with them anymore, because of that situation. So you have to be very careful. I think sometimes when you're in a situation like this, where it's already frustrating, hand over the reins to somebody else if they'll take them, or take the reins and have them, give you their reservation numbers, link everything, and just do it all. And then if it doesn't work out, don't vacation with them again. But it can be a frustrating experience. I definitely have been on that side that Dan is on for vacationing in terms of the frustration level. But our Disney people are awesome that we travel with every year, so I don't have that problem with them. But I've handed over the reins. Like I said, I've made it easy in general.
I think, yeah, to your point, Damon, that's the key thing is, whoever it is, designating that person in charge and giving them the permission to take control. The problem I think that people run into is when they're booking, they keep looking for input from everybody, and they're like, I want to be fair. I want to make sure that I'm including you. But if you say up front, okay, I'm planning a Disney trip. I know what I'm doing with this. If you have any comments, I'll lay out what I think makes sense, and then you can comment on it. But, trying to do a collaborative thing doesn't really work in this case.
No, you have to have a Julie McCoy, right? That's what you have to have. And if you have a Julie, that's okay, and just let them do everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I agree. It has to be like a 1 point person, and you just do everything, and then everybody's got to be kind of okay with that. You gave them a shot to be involved, but it sounds like they don't want to be. So just got to do what you got to do. So
it's uncomfortable though being together.
Oh, it is
in the same place. Yes,
it is. Yeah, for sure.
So this is probably one of my favorite questions that I've ever asked. And I really enjoyed the responses. So Francisco wanted our opinions on this. So the question was, your choice between 1,000 DVC points, right? And let's make sure that we're clarifying all of this now. So it's 1,000 DVC points. Did I say due free? I don't remember. I don't think so. I think you got to pay the dues on those.
Well, yeah, you got to be. Yeah, you got to pay the dues.
You got to pay the dues.
Yeah.
Golden Oaks, you got to pay the HOA fees,
which is a lot.
Or Club 33. What fees are there? There are yearly fees for that too, right?
Yeah, there are. I think it's like 15,000 a year. I think I could be wrong about that.
So, yep. So the Golden Oaks, I think, is 25 grand. Let's call Club 33 15 grand, and then the 1,000 points. Now, I don't know what dues are on 1,000 points, right? But I can extrapolate. I'm assuming it's only. I mean, is that going to be like 900 a month? No, can't be.
More than that.
No, I pay way more than that for my.
Yeah, I was gonna say I pay more than that. Yeah,
a month.
Not a month. Sorry, a year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, per year. Yeah, per year. I think.
No. I'm talking about a month.
Okay, month per month. Okay, so
someone do the math on that.
What do you? How many points do you have?
I have 175, and I pay about 1,200 for
a year.
Yeah. So about 100. So
call it 900 a month then. About.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And by the way, just for reference, Golden Oaks HOA fees are 20,000 annually.
Oh, okay. So that's cheap then, because I thought it was 25. All right. So we're
20,000.
So figure we're at 10, 20, and 15, right? For what you're paying. Here's where this question is. It only makes sense to be in Golden Oaks because I need to give up my mortgage at that point. So for me, it's a Golden Oaks, right? Because I do get a bunch of benefits being at Golden Oaks, but I have no mortgage. So my 1,000 points become irrelevant with no mortgage. The only thing is I'm not Club 33. Club 33 is a nice one just because it's, you can't get in even with all the money in the world all the time, right? But I'd still say I'm at Golden Oaks because I have no mortgage. 1,000 points becomes irrelevant because I'm so close. What do I care? I'm living in Golden Oaks. So what do I care?
So Club 33 is 33,000 initial to join and then 15,000 annual fee. I was right about that. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's more just getting in on the list, not even the money.
Well, I think at Disney World at this point that there's not. I don't think there's a list there. I think you can just join. But at Disneyland, I think there's a there's a waiting list there. I think.
Wait, there's no waiting list at Disney World?
I don't think so. I think you could just join.
Ooh,
I don't know.
This might change my whole day. Anyway,
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm still going to stick at Golden Oaks because think about it. Golden Oaks is worth at the very minimum. You're at like 1.7 mil. I don't think 1,000 points is worth that.
No, I would go Golden Oaks. I think Golden Oaks is the winner there because
unless you don't want to be in Florida, right? That's the thing.
That's true. Yeah. If you don't want to, live in Florida. Yeah.
I was going to say, I guess my only thing is if I didn't have anything tying me back to here, yes, but I have family and stuff here that I would not be okay with living in Florida.
Permanently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's remember too though with Club 33. But also with Golden Oaks, you get tickets and you get annual passes.
So Trevor, what would you do then?
Well, honestly, looking at the three, if it was a fantasy thing, purely, I just, nothing else mattered. Yeah, I would go with Golden Oaks. But looking at
we're saying real life.
Okay, so real life situation, I would actually go with 1,000 points because Club 33 is, you're right. It's exclusive and it's something that I would love to have. It doesn't seem feasible from where I am to get down there on a regular basis enough to feel that I'm justified in using it. The 1,000 points it's easier, to not have to worry about, like as part of my travel arrangements, not having to worry about, paying for rooms and stuff like that. I feel that the 1,000 points makes the most sense if I was going to, continue to live here and travel the way that I am.
Yeah, that's your most flexible option because you could go to Disneyland, you could go to Disney World, you could go, you could go to some different resorts wherever,
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
your most flexible.
At that amount of points, I probably wouldn't even feel bad about converting stuff to RCI at various points just to go wherever, right? So.
Yeah, no, I think for me, Golden Oak would be the answer. Like that's I would love to have a place in Golden Oaks. I think that would be amazing. Just to be right there and, and be able to go to the parks all the time. And, I wouldn't love living in Florida. I don't really like the heat all that much, but, I could deal for how nice those houses are and for the whole setup there. Now, do I want to pay $20,000 a year in HOAs? Not really. I complain about my way less than that HOAs at my regular house. So 20,000 feels like a lot, but I mean, there's a lot that comes with that too. So,
to put it in perspective, I have a community lake and I pay like $300 a year for my fees.
Yeah, I get that.
So. Yeah. Not to say, a lake is, on the same level as Disney by any means, but, for what I pay for those HOA fees, it's, I feel I'm getting a pretty good deal.
It's interesting. I just pulled up another site that's saying it's $5,100 annually, but that doesn't even seem possible.
No.
That just seems way too low. That doesn't seem possible at all. Because I know people that pay more than that are not in $1 million houses in a gated community. But this says, this says Golden Oak HOA fees $5,100. I don't know if that's true or not. That feels wrong. This is a real estate website I'm getting that from. I don't know. If anybody listens to the show that somehow lives in Golden Oaks, let us know. I doubt it, but if somebody does, let us know how much it is.
I would be very impressed if we had listeners in Golden Oaks.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it was a good question. It was an interesting one, Damon. That was a good one. Do you want to do Chris's question, Trevor?
Here, yeah. Let me see if I can break this down. Okay, so Chris says, with the recent price increases at current resorts, as well as some select sold-out resorts, is there a price point where you would say DVC is not worth it to people who have not bought in yet? Or does the lower cost of resale make this a moot point? Just curious, because the speculation of $300 a point or higher for new Disneyland is out there.
What's your breaking point, Trevor, for the new Disneyland resort? Like, what's the most you would pay per point there?
Yeah,
because you're the. I mean, I know you want to buy there, right?
Yeah, so. I do, and I guess so. It's for me the math basically comes down to it. If I'm looking at the next. I kind of played, or when we bought into DVC, I played it as over the next 5 years, if I was going to spend more than, X number of dollars, like rough ballpark, on hotel rooms, if the initial cost is more than that, and I know the dues and everything skew that number, but, if the initial cost is more than what it would cost me for 5 years of stays, then it's really hard to justify at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing is that it's, I feel like, at $300 a point, yeah, that's getting crazy expensive, but I guess it also depends on how many points I'm actually needing for a room, right? Like if it's still, like 20 points for a room, that's way too much. Like that's way out of my ballpark.
Pardon.
So yeah. Because then, again, it's, I have to kind of, I can't answer this easily on the spot because, I have to kind of play out, we would go to Disneyland, on average 4 to 5 days is a trip that we would plan, staying there, going from like Monday to Friday, it would cost me, let's estimate, around, 120 points. If those points ended up costing me, $25,000 to get, then I don't want them, honestly, because the way that I look at it is, we were talking about it, and the whole idea is our plan was to kind of go, if we get these points, we're doing every other year at 1 year at Disneyland, 1 year at Disney World. The interesting thing about that is that actually brings down the amount of points that we need. So like, I was talking about that 120 points. We actually only need 60 points if we're going every other year. And that might be a little bit easier to swallow. So there's a lot of factors that come into this for me in particular.
It's a tough question to answer, honestly. Yeah.
But honestly, the price points for new are, it is hitting that point where, I think it is definitely getting questionable for, am I going to use this enough over the next, 5 or 10 years to justify it? Or am I okay with just the points that I have right now and maybe adding on, an extra, 50 points at some point, right? Like to an existing resort, and then I'm buying resale, which is cheaper.
Well, and it's going to be interesting with the Disneyland one, right? Because that's going to be a hot commodity, right? So they probably are going to price it pretty high, right?
Oh, absolutely, and the problem is that you probably won't see those go resale anytime soon. Like you won't see any reasonable amount of resale because, like you said, people have been clamoring for more DVC in Disneyland for a long time, and you may see more Grand Californian sell off, but again, the problem is that, we looked at Grand California when I did the math on it. It didn't work out. Like we kind of looked at it and it was like, well, I can just get a room for that price. Yeah. It didn't feel like I was saving anything versus a cash room.
No, that makes sense.
But that was also a couple of years ago too. I know that, prices have shifted since then. And I know even like room prices have gone up since then. So, so there is that. And it's, it's a very complicated question. And honestly, I would, I feel if they just came in at $300 a point, that would be a hard no for me. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a huge line of people that are already waiting to buy it regardless. So
I think it's hard for me to just go X amount of price, dollars per point is where I stop, right? Like I don't know if I could just say that because, I think I just need to look at it as at a 1-by-1 basis of what I'm going to buy. And truthfully, for me at this point, it's resale from here on out anyway. So, but I mean, if for somebody who is looking to buy in and looking to buy direct, the direct prices are obviously going to matter. But, interesting enough I think I read on one of the DVC sites that someone did the math, even with the direct point increase on Riviera, that the incentives basically make it the same price. It kind of like, they raise the direct price, but then they also have the incentives that kind of make it pretty similar to what it was. So I didn't do the math on that though, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's correct. But it's interesting how they work with those incentives and marketing those resorts and that kind of thing. So
there is a bit of mental gymnastics there where they say, hey, you're still you buy now, you're still getting the cheaper price, right? But they are still slowly creeping it up as you go without But somebody coming in now, they don't have any of that historical information. And that's what makes this hard too, is, we're far enough into this that, we're thinking about what it was before, we kind of already have that feel of it. If I went to somebody blind and said, hey, look at DVC, they kind of have to go through all the loophole or not through all the hoops that I went through to figure out if it makes sense first. Like I said, for me, it's not a simple, this dollar value makes sense. It's like I said, you got to figure out the travel scenarios. You got to figure out, how, basically if you have a rough idea of how you're going to vacation in the next 5 years, you can probably figure it out. If you're one of these people that goes, well, I just, I think about my vacation like a week before I leave. That's probably not going to work for you. Yeah.
Yep. So we should do our ad right here.
Okay, so we have DVC Resale Market this week. So DVC Resale Market, a World of DVC company, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2020, DVC Resale Market helped over 3,600 families join or add on to their membership. Go to dvcresalemarket.com and please let them know that Welcome Home sent you, or you can call them at 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 382-7767.
All right. Well, we got a couple more questions. Just a few more here, and then we can move on to other things, right?
Yep.
I feel like we should maybe skip at least one of these because we got too many questions left. Thoughts on Disney World personal shoppers? Have you ever used one? Would you? Do you tip? Do you think Disney should offer all products available on site or on Disney or Shop Disney is what the website is. She put DisneyStore.com, but Shop Disney. But and Chrissy says, I personally don't think so. It takes away from the experience of buying on site, and I would end up spending less. Yeah, I don't think that I kind of agree with that. I don't think they should sell everything online because I think it's, there's a certain cool thing to buying certain things in the park and having them be park exclusives. But also from a business perspective for Disney, they want you to come to the parks and buy stuff as opposed to, there's certain things they want you to come and get there. Like the only time I've never actually used a personal shopper, so to speak, but I did buy an item that was park exclusive at the time. Later it showed up on Shop Disney, but at the time I bought my Figment that was at the time park exclusive off of eBay. So somebody went and bought a bunch of them and sold it on eBay, but it wasn't like an actual shopper that I used. So I don't have a good experience with that I could share.
Right. And I guess I understand the logic behind this, and I understand, we've definitely fall into this is, when you're in the park, there is a certain amount of impulse buy that happens. And I know Disney is very much aware of that. They, the reason for park exclusive and the reason why, you'll find something in the parks that you won't find on Shop Disney is because, in the moment you'll be standing there, the sights and sounds and everything are around you. And it just, it hits you and you're like, I have to have this item in this moment. Right. And so, they don't want to take away from that, to Chrissy's point, if everything was available on the Shop Disney site, then yeah, the gift shops and everything feel very, they feel less validated than they already are because, people already slammed the gift shops for, why are you shoving me into a gift shop when I get off of a ride? Right. Yeah. And yeah, it quickly becomes, oh, well, I can just buy all this stuff on Shop Disney. So, it is a calculated thing. So I get that. And I get why certain things want to stay, exclusive to the parks. I will admit, again, being international, I wish there was more stuff on the Disney store that was international because we had trouble last year buying some Christmas items off of the Disney store because it turns out that we tried to buy a mug of all stupid things and the mug would not ship internationally. So it didn't let us process the rest of the order because of it until we took the mug out. But it was like, it's like, why? Like,
why randomly can you not ship a mug?
Yeah. Right. And everything else was fine. So I get that frustration, from that side of, I just want, being able to buy everything through Shop Disney would be nice. But I also understand why they don't let you do that. As far as Disney World shoppers go, I
don't love the concept of Disney World.
I don't want to. Okay, my personal opinion is that there's two different things here. I think there's Disney shoppers, which is they've made a business out of somebody's requesting something and says, hey, I want you to buy this thing. They go to the shop or they go into Disney, they buy it, and then they ship it to you. that I think is okay, because it's just really an extension of, you going to the park and getting it, and you are paying a middleman for the fee. What I don't like is, and sorry, Tom, I know you bought it off of eBay because
I felt dirty buying it off eBay. I did, but there was no other way to get it, and I wanted it. So.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it, the slippery slope that I hate, is those people where you see the pictures or the videos of them walking out with like 50 bags of stuff that, was just released as a Disney exclusive item. And you darn well know that, they're just, they're marketing it up by 100% purely to profit off of it. And I don't like that. I understand that, there's a market for it and everything, but you're right. It feels dirty. Yeah. And I wish there was less of that, or I wish there was more controls in place to stop that.
Well, if I remember a couple years ago, they started like revoking some annual passes of people that were doing that habitually. I seem to remember that happening. That was the thing that like they started cracking down on that. I listen, like I said, I didn't feel great about it when I bought it from there, but it was like my only option at the time. So I was like, I mean, I guess I'll do it. It's there. And I mean, they didn't mark it up absurdly. Like it was marked up maybe like $10. So I was like, all right, I'll go with it. And then of course later, like a month later, Damon sent me a link and he was like, hey, look, the thing you paid for on eBay is on Shop Disney now. And I'm like, really? This is supposed to be park exclusive. So yeah.
There is definitely, unfortunately, that comes into, the fear of missing out and all that, right? Yeah. It sucks that we have to deal with it, but, like I said, I don't have a problem with, I feel the people that, do the, individual, hey, I'm a shopper, 10 people contact me and then I go and shop on their behalf. That's not exclusive. I mean, really that, or the people buying up stuff in bulk. It's not exclusive to Disney. No. But the other one is, more, somebody's meeting a need of, of a specific person, whereas the people buying it in bulk is, one, they're deliberately, shortchanging the store. So, or, the store sells out, the store doesn't care because, they've sold out, but then it creates that frenzy. This goes back, I remember, back in the 90s with the stupid, Tickle Me Elmo dolls, right? Where, everybody was losing their mind, and it was the same thing is, everyone bought it out. And it created this false hype around it. And that's the part that I hate, is when it gets to that point. So yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Makes sense. I think the last question I want to do here is thoughts on buying movies. With so many streaming services, do you ever buy hard copies of movies? And this is a big no for me. In fact, I just got rid of all of the DVDs we have in the house because I'm just like, at this point, everything is streaming. I don't want physical stuff in my house. I don't need it. I don't see a point to it. I know a lot of people really like collecting those things, but for me, I just don't care. Like I can stream just about anything I want, and I don't need a device for it. I don't need a DVD taking up space in my house. So I know a lot of people disagree on this, but for me, I don't need any physical. I always say to my wife, physical media is dead. I've said that to her many times. And, I know she likes having, we still have some VHSs of old Disney movies in our house. And I'm like, why don't we get rid of these? We don't even have a VHS player. Like, we don't have a VCR anywhere. Like, like we don't, what's the point to having this other than it just sitting here? And, that's just for me. It's like, why have it if we can't even play it? And, really, I don't have like a DVD player lying around, I guess, besides like, an Xbox, I guess. But outside of that, I don't have like a regular DVD player just sitting around. I'd much rather just go on Netflix or go on, on Disney Plus or wherever and just stream it.
So I agree with you up to a certain point. My criteria is if I get excited enough about a movie or a show that I watch it more than 4 or 5 times, that justifies me having a physical copy of it. So,
but if you could stream it, then why does that justify it? If you could just stream it,
Okay, so understand this in Canada. The silly licensing laws, and I'm dealing with this with Disney Plus right now, is shows that Damon, like even like Amphibia season 2, we still don't have it on Disney Plus. So, for you, it's a lot easier because, everything is readily available because you're in the States. Outside of the States, we do have to be cognizant. And this actually even happened. So Friends had it was on Amazon Prime up until January 31st of 2020, and then they pulled it off of Amazon Prime and they put it onto some other service that I've never heard of. But suddenly we went from it was available all the time to we couldn't watch it anymore unless we went and moved to another service, which is very frustrating. So because of the stupid games that some of these streaming services are playing, it does sometimes justify having a physical copy just to ignore all of that. And again, like I said, the criteria for me is if I know I've watched a show enough, or I can just watch it anytime. Things like Jurassic World. We've watched it a ton of times. We have the Blu-ray of it because we know that we'll sit down and watch it. That doesn't mean I won't turn it on a streaming service, but it's nice to have it there as a fallback. And that's the other thing too, is that, so this hasn't happened to us for streaming services, but as an example, I actually talked to my parents last week, and because of the extreme cold that we've had here for the last couple of weeks, it has caused various infrastructure outages. And apparently cable TV was actually unavailable for about 6 hours at one point last week. I didn't know that because I haven't had cable TV for a while, but my parents were very frustrated because they didn't have any backup for, they didn't have anything else they could do because, for me, I can play a video game or whatever. And that also, poses a similar problem that, if you play all your games online, not having some games offline or some means of playing them without an internet connection can be a problem as well. So I keep a collection of movies, and so movies, we have a fairly small collection of Blu-rays at this point. And again, it's specific to shows that we watch. And for me, I feel, having them and, like you said, we have like PlayStations and stuff, any number of devices that can watch them. I like the idea of having it there as a fallback. And it's not that I'm going to pull them out every week and watch them, but if knowing that I have some of it there, it makes me feel better. Similarly with my games, my game collection goes actually all the way back to like the Atari and the Nintendo days, is that I have original cartridges and everything of those games. And, you could say the same thing is, why keep the physical media? And again, there is a sentimental aspect to it, but then there's also, like I said, it's nice to be able to, sometimes just turn those things on and not have to monkey around with, well, you got to sign into this service, or, hopefully they didn't pull it off or, discontinue this service because, with streaming services, for as much as they seem permanent, is that the truth is that, I know this isn't going to happen anytime soon, but if Netflix suddenly got disconnected, what are you doing? Right? But again, that's a little more theoretical. It's more that, on the internet side, your internet goes out. How are you getting to these services? Right. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. There's three things here, right? Just as Trevor said, if internet's out, what are you doing? The second thing is that what if you want to watch the original? I like the original Star Wars. I don't need the version that streams on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Right. And then the third thing ends up being is that there is a lot of television that is not streaming. A ton of it. My favorite show of all time is not streaming anywhere. It never will be, right? Because it was one season on NBC. It just doesn't exist. So, and it will never exist again because of the legalities around the music that they had. There's too many reasons to say why you would have DVDs for things. I mean, why not at the end of the day? So.
And also I'll say this is, DVDs and Blu-rays, honestly, right now they are the most future-proof of those technologies. VHS, I know to your point, Tom, VHS is becoming harder and harder to even find a player for. But DVDs and Blu-rays, thankfully, when Blu-ray players came out, they made them backwards compatible with DVDs. So it's less of an issue finding a means of playing those than any other media at this point.
Also compression as well, right? Internet is not at the point of Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the best quality is still going to be at that level outside of streaming. There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, but like nowadays you can get, a lot of those you can get at 4K or an HDR.
But they're compressed. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, they still look good. I mean,
they don't look as good as a Blu-ray.
I mean,
And the larger screen you have, the more artifacting you see. It's
sure.
not a question. When it comes to true video, you're not stopping right now in terms of streaming service and compression. Just it doesn't exist at that level yet.
Sure. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I get what you guys are saying for shows that you can't get on streaming. Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm just saying, like, for stuff that I can get on streaming, like I just don't feel.
What
like
if the power goes out?
Well, then you can't watch a DVD either.
What? You can't watch a DVD if the power goes out? Last time I checked, I could.
What do you mean you could? How are you watching a DVD without power?
With a portable DVD player, that's better.
Well, okay. Yeah, but you could argue the same thing. You could stream Netflix on your phone when the power's out. You know, like
no, because again, around here the problem is it's not just power goes out. We lose internet connectivity sometimes as well. And actually to that end, I guess you could do it over
this discussion has gone on way too long. Do it over cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be an easy question.
But it's really
not
yeah,
easy.
it's not. But yeah, to that end, I'm definitely in on streaming services, but I haven't completely given up on hard media either.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, well let's talk about this MagicBand that's that Damon's probably going to buy.
Damon's favorite MagicBand.
I would definitely buy this.
Yeah, I know you.
Doubt about it.
I swear to you, when I saw this on the internet. So what this is for everybody that doesn't know, it's for Disney World's 50th birthday. They're doing a flashback to the 25th anniversary celebration in 1996, where Cinderella Castle was turned into a giant birthday cake. We've talked about this on the show many times. Damon loved the look. He wants them to bring it back, but now they've made a MagicBand of it. So
let's be on point here. So
okay.
I like the differentiation for the anniversary. It doesn't have to be the cake. It could be anything. I just thought that it's unique. I like unique. So this is interesting to me because it's part of that flashback. Again, the Cinderella castle being turned into a giant birthday cake is just awesome. It's not from the standpoint of necessarily what it looked like, but what it accomplished. So that's what I would say.
I like that the band is called "It's Time to Remember the Magic" because there's so many people that don't want to remember it.
They want to forget that happened altogether.
Yeah. It feels like a funny, almost kind of dig at people, but at the same time, them following their usual promotion of these things.
I do have to say it's a cool looking MagicBand because it's almost, I don't want to say a cartoon version of it, but it's a cool like drawn version of it, and it's got that same Pepto-Bismol pink that that the castle was in, but I mean it's pretty cool. I like it. When I first saw it, I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody had just photoshopped it, and then I was like, oh no, wait, this is legit. They're actually selling this thing. So I just thought it was really funny. But I think it's a cool looking MagicBand, and somebody put in this article they're suggesting that they hope that there's a one that has a Sorcerer Mickey and the 25th logo on it. That would be cool. I want the 2000 thing that showed up above the Spaceship Earth.
The hand with the
yeah.
Yeah.
Give me that. I'll buy one of those. That would be cool.
I have an ornament with that, the EPCOT ball with the hand over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damon, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
No.
Okay. I just thought this was neat. I think it's kind of a cool. I like that they're still doing the special MagicBands like this. I think it's cool. So, and then we had they took out the Leave a Legacy, the tombstones a while ago, right, from the front of Epcot, and they said they were going to do something with them, and now we finally know what they're doing, and I think this looks awesome. I love the colors that they did with them. I love.
I'm just annoyed you can't get new ones.
Maybe you will be able to at some point. Maybe. Sorry, Trevor. Go.
No, I agree with you, Damon. It feels like the fact that this is outside of the main entrance, and there is the potential for them to put up a whole other set or a whole other wall like this, right? So
how much? How much would you pay?
How much were the previous ones?
Gosh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I never looked into them, so I don't know. I need a ballpark of where these kinds of things were.
What does one have to do with the other, though?
Just curious what the precedent was for how much they charged for these photos.
Well, I mean, it was like 20 years ago, right? So $35 for one person, $38 for two.
Okay. So
I do $50. I do it for $50. Are we talking
say,
color?
You're not getting it for 50. I say 250. I'm in.
Wow, that's.
I was going to say if it was 100 or 150, I could justify that.
What do you want color though, or do you want the same
Same thing, man.
etched
Yeah.
black and white
Same thing.
Yeah,
250 a family. I'm in.
All right. I like the display that they're on. I'm glad that they did this. I think it looks really nice. And the one thing about it though, I read that the walls are 9 feet tall. So what are the people on the top row supposed to do? You're never going to see yours because it's on the top row. I thought that was a little bit of
They have a cast member that comes around with a ladder.
They should, right? They should just have a ladder that's like almost like one of those library ladders,
Dude, could you really? Yeah, people would fall off and sue.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, health and safety would have a field day with that.
Oh god, yeah. I just think it's interesting that was the choice that they made to make them that tall. I guess that's the only way they could make it maybe fit into the area it needs to fit into, but
yeah,
I don't know. But I much prefer this to what it was in the front of the park. Because I never liked the tombstones. What
you were saying, about would you do color? I would absolutely not do color for these, because if for how they presented this wall, if you colorize it, that becomes a nightmare. But then also over time, if you do a colorized photo versus a black and white, it's going to fade. Yeah, and it's not going to look nice. So yeah, I would much rather black and white.
They've got these are I almost want them to do a more better. I'm sure there's better technology for them to do a better looking etching than they have on these.
What's wrong with the etchings? They look fine.
You can barely recognize people on them. They're hard to see people. No, you don't think? You think these are easy to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never thought they were.
People are still recognizable on them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they could definitely do more, higher resolution version.
That's what I'm saying.
But
yeah.
I don't see it as
technology has to be a little better now.
Yeah.
So, but this is cool. I think it would be cool if they made it so you can add new ones. Like you said, Damon, you've been wanting them to do stuff like this where they can, where you can do stuff, customize stuff. So, I mean, it'd be easy revenue for them if they did it. Why not? Right? So,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know, maybe.
How many people have been asking for this, right?
It's true. It's true. It does seem like it would just be easy money for them, right? I don't know. I have no idea how profitable those things were back in the day, but you think they would be. I don't know. All right. Well, that's enough of that talk, I guess. Yep. Oh, I do like, too, that they have a QR code that you scan at the front, too, and you, I guess it brings you to a website that you can type in your information and it will tell you where your picture is, so you don't have to. I mean, I don't know how you would do it otherwise, right? Because you can't just search through all those. There's thousands and thousands of them. So
yeah, they've just removed, because before you had to go talk to a booth to figure out where your stuff was, right?
Yeah. All right, well, let's do our second ad for Monera. How about that?
All right, go for it.
All right, let's do it. So, we talked earlier about DVC resale market. If you're looking for financing options for your DVC resale purchase, look no further than Monera Financial. Monera, a World of DVC company, is the industry leader for financing DVC resale contracts. Monera offers lending with no credit checks, often very low down payments, terms as long as 10 years, and no prepayment penalties. If you're thinking of purchasing a DVC contract, go check out their quick online quote first. You might be surprised just how affordable joining DVC can be. So go to monerafinancial.com or call 317-245-8800. Let them know that Welcome Home sent you. We've said that many times. Most important thing you can do. Again, that's monerafinancial.com or call 317-245-8800. So, it looks like, and this is not necessarily a rumor because this is stuff that's out there. It looks like Epcot's getting ready to bring back the cultural representatives to the World Showcase, which is great news, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they had to at some point, right? And it sounds like specifically they're looking for that crepe. I'm not going to attempt to.
Don't try to do the French. It's
La Creperie de Paris. Yeah. So yeah, they're with Ratatouille opening and all that. It seems like they're focusing on that, but it also seems like a lead into them bringing back the rest of the cultural representatives. So
apparently there's like there's advertising out there looking to fill these positions, so that's kind of how this is known. And basically Disney uses a recruiter for their cultural representative program, and they go out and they get these folks from all over the world. So it's cool that this is restarting and start they're starting to bring people in, even if it's just for one country. It's a start, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly. I'm like we said, I think we said this may have been a couple episodes ago, is, these things over the next probably 6 months, I think you're going to see a very drastic change in the amount of things that are being offered, like, Festival of the Lion King, stuff like this. You're going to start seeing, us coming out the other side of this, which, I'm very thankful for. Is, it's definitely some new positive stuff to look forward to, right?
Yeah, no, I think everybody, 2020 was a rough year, and for a lot of reasons, and also, just rough for, if you like going to Disney, and to see some of this stuff starting to slowly come back to normalcy is a great feeling. I do wonder though, does this mean that? Well, see, they can open the new France stuff without having the cultural representatives there. I mean, they've been operating World Showcase without that, right? So at first I saw this and I was like, oh, I guess that means that they're not going to be opening that new section for a while, for a couple more months. But they can open it without the cultural representatives. I mean, it's not ideal, but I'm sure they can do it without. I'm a little selfishly hoping that the Ratatouille ride is open when I go in April, at the end of April. I would think so. All the reports seem to point to it being done and just sitting there. So I don't know if they're doing any work on it at all at this point, or if it's just they're just waiting for the right time to open it. But I would hope that it'll be open by the time I go at the end of April. So we'll have to see. But I can't imagine this means that they're going to wait to get those cultural representatives in to open it. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, you're right. It's, I think the two are not related at all. And, I would hope so. The Remy, opening the ride, I know from the videos and everything we've seen, it looks like it's like 99% done. But, in typical Disney fashion, I'm sure that, they have a different standard of what they consider ready to go. And I'm also sure that, they're probably not able to get people in there as fast as they would previously like to get things done, because, you still have to be cognizant of social distancing and all that, even for the workers, right? So, yeah.
Well, and they could be testing right now. Disney does some extensive testing on new stuff like this, so they could be doing a lot of testing. And I personally will see. I think they're going to open it before spring break time. I just kind of feel like they're going to. I have no information on that. I just get the feeling that's what they're going to do. I thought they might do it this weekend on a holiday weekend, but apparently not.
I just had some weird deja vu, Tom. Because you said the same thing last year about Space 220.
Well, listen, okay, that's a different situation because of what 2020 was. All right. 2020 kind of ruined Space 220. Although they did just put out a new video a couple weeks ago, or I guess it was like a month or so ago now. So it's still being worked on.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking more about, you were kind of in the same boat where you're like, I have this trip planned. I'm so confident that this is going to be open by the time I go on my trip. And, I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but,
Well, I was confident that I was going to get to go on my trip too. And that didn't happen either. So,
there was that. It's just, sorry, maybe, last year has definitely caused a bit of trauma, but I'm oh boy, I hope this works out for you, but.
Listen, it's not going to be the end of the world if it's not open when I go. I'm not too worried about that. Like, that one is not one that I'm like, I need to go on that one. Like, not like Rise of the Resistance is, or which, by the way, we were talking about Disney Nightmares. I actually had one last night of us being at Disney and getting to the park like 2 hours too late for the queue for Rise of the Resistance, and like not being able to get a spot. Like, I literally had a nightmare about that last night.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway, which seems silly, but it was in the dream. It was, it was not good, but anyway.
Yeah. It always makes sense in the dream, but
it does. Yeah, it does. So we got just a few more things on here, and then we can wrap this up. So,
yes.
Do you want to talk about this contemporary thing?
Yeah. So the Disney website now lists the contemporary resort room remodel project, but it doesn't say anything about the Incredibles themes room. The Incredibles themed rooms. That's hard to say.
That was like a rumor, like,
Yeah.
I feel like early last year that they were going to start doing some stuff where they were going to change a lot of things in the Contemporary to be Incredibles themed, which, you know, I guess at first I'm, you know, think about it and I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, right? But then I guess I think of like the kind of like the general, like the stuff that's in the Incredibles, and like the theming is very like older, you know, like it's kind of
it's that 60s futurism, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's that 60s futurism stuff. And so in a weird way, it kind of does fit in the Contemporary in an odd way, but depending on how they do it, of course, right?
Yeah. And you know, again, you know, there's nothing stopping the Incredibles from coming in there, because, you know, the Contemporary, you know, by nature, you know, the naming of the resort, it can be anything contemporary. So, you know, I guess, you know, like you said, the Incredibles could be contemporary, could be considered contemporary. But, you know, also it's their resort, so they can do really whatever they want with it.
Well, there's also that. Yeah. Disney can do whatever the heck they want. I don't think it's a bad change if they did that. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I'm not against theming. I'm fine with it. And you know, I'm not saying the Contemporary feels like a not kid friendly resort or anything. I mean, it's got Chef Mickey right in there. So which is, you know, a mainstay of kid friendly dining. But, you know, I think this could appeal to some kids and be nice to have some themed rooms in an otherwise, I don't want to say an unthemed resort. It's not an unthemed resort, but it's, like you said, Contemporary can kind of be anything it wants to be, right?
Yeah.
So
at this point, you know, themed rooms are definitely, they're kind of in a weird spot where, you know, everyone talks about themed resorts, but having a themed room is kind of next level, and it kind of, it gives them, I guess, an easy out, in that it's easier to redesign a room than it is to redesign an entire resort around a theme, right? And so,
well, and you don't have to do over the top, right? Like if you look at like Animal Kingdom, if you stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, like there's little Lion King things throughout the room, but it's not like over, it's not crazy Lion King, you know what I mean? It's not like Simba's on everything. Like it's more of like they have like little subtle nods to it, and you know, they have pictures of like the savannah, and like, you know, they've got like the lion picture, like, you know, there's little things like that. Like they don't have to go crazy with it. They can be subtle about it, which is like what I think they're doing with Moana and Polynesian. It's going to be fairly subtle, I believe, but
you know, subtle hints and a themed room are very different. I was going to say,
that's true. Yeah,
you haven't stayed. We stayed in the pirate themed room at
that's a themed room.
The Caribbean Beach. Oh my goodness, that was, you know, that was a pirate room. No debating it.
Well,
room.
And I've never stayed at Art of Animation, but I've seen pictures of those rooms. Those are themed rooms at Art of Animation, you know?
Yeah.
Those are some really themed rooms.
And it definitely, it does have a different feeling to it. Like, you know, we, on that particular trip, we stayed in a regular room, and then just because of the hurricane, like I ended up having to book 2 rooms. So for the second room, I was like, well, you know, let's upgrade it to the themed room. And that definitely, it had an impact. Like when we got into the room and my wife and my son saw it, they kind of freaked out, because it was like, you know, it's, you know,
in a good way, or in a bad way?
Oh no, in a good way. Like they were super excited, and you know, they loved it. And, so I see why, you know, again, at the Contemporary it's that same kind of thing, is, you know, for the kids, and for, you know, it invokes certain memories and certain emotions. And, you know, from a marketing standpoint, you know, again, Disney can put this out there and be like, hey, you know, come stay with the Incredibles, and, you know, everybody's going to love that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, so we have one more thing on here.
Yeah. This one's kind of weird, and I don't know.
I love it. I love this idea.
I don't.
You don't like it? Okay.
No. So what this is Disney's California Adventure is having a ticketed festival-like event coming mid-March, featuring food and beverages, live entertainment, and more. Here's the thing: is that, as far as I know, the park itself is still not open. So what they're doing, is they're making this they're making like a food and wine type event, but it's a ticketed event. So you gotta get a special ticket to get into this. And
it's a food festival. I mean, I've done food festivals before outside of Disney, I love that kind of stuff.
But to me, okay.
Why do you want to go to California Adventure if you can't go on all the rides?
Exactly. I do not want to go into a food festival. If I was going to Epcot, Epcot, I could go and do the food festival and not care about the rides because it's, Epcot is set up in such a way that it doesn't feel like, that is the experience. This feels like, they're just trying to do something. And I get it. I get that California Adventure's closed and they can't open it up properly like Disneyland and California Adventure. They're just trying to do something to get, one, people in the door, and two, keep people employed or keep cast members employed. So I understand that, but, I would not be able to justify a trip down there if this was all that was being offered. Like if I was like,
like this is like, I feel like this is for locals and not necessarily for people traveling. I wouldn't expect you to travel down for this. I feel like this is for locals more than anything.
Yeah, I would agree, but it's still, I guess I know that they can open up, but it's just frustrating to watch this even from here because it's like, I just don't, I don't feel that it's a good use of their time, so to speak. But, I just don't, I don't like the fact that they haven't opened the park at all. And I could not stand being in the park and having like everything right there and being told, come have another, street food truck meal of some sort. And you just kind of stand there and look at, Mickey's Fun Wheel and, the entire, the entire Pixar Pier and just like, sigh and eat your street food. Right.
That is quite the tease to be, just sitting there looking at all those rides and just know you can't go on them. Yeah, I guess I look at this as like, it's better than nothing. And I think it's just kind of a creative idea. And I like the fact that it's going to put 1,000 cast members back to work. I think that that's a really nice positive. They're trying to do something, right? Anything that they can do. And, it's going to be limited capacity, obviously. So it's going to be kind of small and intimate, it seems like. I mean, I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of room there. But I just think it's nice to see something happening instead of just these empty parks that are closed that you can't do anything at all in,
You're right. I agree with you on that level. It still just hurts.
I get it. I totally get it. Get it. I mean, like, I just love a good food festival, like I'll hit up a food festival anytime, but this is, I understand your point though, that it would be hard to do that. But it's definitely not something I would travel for sure. I think if it was something that was down the street for me, then maybe I'd check it out depending on the price. Like, I don't know what the price point of this is going to be, but I'm sure it's not going to be cheap if it's going to be limited capacity. And, plus it's just Disney and it's California. So both of all those things factor into it not being cheap. But
I think it's a good point too. Yeah. If it's getting close to, park admission and all I'm getting is a food festival. Yeah. But
I just wonder though, like, is it going to be like one of the dessert parties where it's like all you can eat? Like, it's going to be a bunch of different food booths and like you pay $150 and it's all you can eat and drink. I mean, might be worth it for that. If it was like $150 and it's all you can eat and drink, I'd be down for that probably.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That
depends. It really depends.
Yeah. The danger with those all you can eat things is that you end up eating way more than you should because you feel like you need to justify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I'll tell this really quickly. I did a beer festival one time and I'm not much of a drinker, but if you ever do one of those, the big mistake you make is drinking the full, like a full, or like even like a half a glass at each booth. When there's like 100 different places to go, you're not going to make it all the way through, right? Yeah. So you gotta go small, and that's what I think you have to do with these too. You got to go small. Have little small plates, little small pieces, or else you're going to get too full, and you're not going to make it all the way through. It's the same thing. I went to a sweets festival one time. It was all different kinds of sweets. I love sweet stuff, but I was like ill within 15 minutes,
that would be my problem. And I've had that with the dessert parties is, you
Oh,
you go up and it's like, oh, I'm going to take one of everything. And then you come back and you have a massive plate of sugar. And
You get ill.
yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Well, that festival I'm talking about had like takeaway boxes, which was great because like it could take stuff away with me and not have to eat it all right there. That was the best part. But
So you can relive the experience at home.
yeah, exactly. So I could get more ill at home afterwards. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, like I don't know. I look at this and I'm like, okay, I'm glad they're putting some people back to work. I'm glad they're bringing back some cast members. That's great. It's nice that they're doing something. And They did just say in their investor call that they do not expect Disneyland to open back up until the summer at the earliest. So hopefully that's true. They are still expecting to open in 2021, and they're still expecting Avengers Campus to open in 2021, which is something that they said as part of this. So so that's good news. At least we're trending towards good, Trevor. Trending towards good.
Yeah, you're right. We've had so much of bad taking stuff away, and it's nice that they are bringing it back. And again, the selfish side
Just
of me says, bring more. Like,
yeah, do more. Well, they
Hurry up,
can't,
guys.
right? So, I guess they can only do this because they lifted like the restaurant restrictions, right? So, like, they can do this, but nothing else.
Yeah, they're playing within the rules, which is absolutely fair. It's just the rules suck sometimes.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we go here?
I think we covered off a lot of stuff. I know Damon had to step away there, so I don't think he has anything to add at this point.
No, I'm back. It's
there you go.
nothing to add.
Yeah.
What's that? What'd you say?
I'm back, but nothing of interest to me.
Okay. Well, do you want to plug your other podcast?
No, I won't do anything. I'm tired. I'll go watch TV.
You gonna go take a nap?
I just want to watch TV. I just watched Sulphur Springs, the latest episode. It's such a good show. Oh my goodness, it's so
I've
good.
never even heard of that show.
I need to get on that. I remember you saying that, and I need to get on that.
It's so good.
What is
Secrets
that
of Sulphur Springs. It's on Disney.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and then we've also Are You Afraid of the Dark has a part 2, season 2, whatever.
You're talking about the reboot version?
Yeah, the reboot version.
Oh.
So the second season of the reboot just started, and that looks really good. So I have TV to watch today.
Nice. I haven't watched any of the reboot. I mean, I loved it when I was a kid, and
the first series in the reboot season series, whatever you want to call it, was okay. It was okay.
not as good as the original, though, right? I mean, it's
I feel you have some rose-colored glasses for the original.
the original does not hold up at all. No, I watched some recently, and it does not hold up in any way. And I didn't realize that as a kid that it was all being made in Canada, but as an adult, I noticed some Canadian things in there.
Oh, come on.
What do you mean? Oh, come on.
Is it really that bad that it was?
No, it's not. But just a couple things that like you say, I'll say line up for something, and you always say queue up for something. And just little things I've noticed talking to you.
I don't say queue up. I say
Yeah,
line up.
I've heard you say queue up before. I'm gonna find evidence of this.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I use the word queue, but
Yeah.
It's
not a big deal.
Okay. That just weird. I didn't really think about it. And I guess, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, I never clued in that it was specifically Canadian.
No,
but
it's
being in Canada, I guess it just kind of made sense, right?
I think in the credits it says it somewhere though too. Like I just never noticed when I was a kid. Yeah, like it was, and it was all made in Canada. That whole show, I think the entire time, I think was Canadian. So
It was either filmed in Toronto or Vancouver.
there you go. That was random. So all right, well let's go ahead and wrap up then.
All right. Okay, so as usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. We love getting all of our listener questions, comments. There's people love sharing stuff with us through email. Which, we definitely enjoyed it. And, like Tom said, previously, even if we don't respond back right away, we do read it. We do try to either include it on the episodes or we try and respond back to when we can. Obviously we have jobs. So, doing this in between.
Trevor, that actually reminds me because Cindy emailed us and said, Damon, I'm catching up on the podcast. I was listening to the early 90s last night. You mentioned an animated series while discussing Gravity Falls. You commented it was touching, and I can't remember the name of it and can't seem to find the discussion again on Rewind. I was thinking it was something like Aquarius, but that's not right. It might not even be close. Is that Amphibia maybe they're talking about?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it would be Amphibia because that does have some crossover into Gravity Falls, right?
Yes, that sounds right. Okay, cool.
All right.
So there you go.
Answer another question.
On the yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. So outside of the email address, if you guys want to find us on social media, you can always find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, which is also called Welcome Home Podcast, or you can go to Instagram if you want to follow us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. Also mention if on Facebook, if you guys haven't joined the group yet, look for the Welcome Home Disney waitlist. Get in the group there, and some of these discussions that we are having on the show stem from that group. So it kind of gives you a bit of insight into the kind of stuff that we're talking about throughout the week. And, you can get involved with the community and get involved with the discussion on the podcast.
Yeah. And sometimes if you, comment a lot and say, hey, I want to pin Tom, I just randomly send you one. So those are things that happen sometimes.
So, if you want to pin, that might be a way to get one.
Oh, wait, no, I do want to plug something. So that Disney thing that we're working on. So we are working on something for social media that's going to be some sort of Disney-based quiz. So I think that by next week, we'll send it out to a few people to take a look at, right, to make sure that it's good and that everything's worded correctly. But hopefully we'll see that sometime the week after is my guess. And what we'd like for everyone is if you could share it out as much as possible. But we'll let you know again. This is just a pre-plug to the plug.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And so also if you guys want any merchandise, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com. We got masks on there, we got mugs, we got t-shirts. So and you can browse through the store there and find stuff that is Welcome Home Podcast merchandise. And hopefully whenever you're able to go back to the parks, you have some cool stuff to wear or bring with you.
Yeah.
And also, if, when you guys are listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play or any of those services, we do appreciate if you guys leave us a review because we do read those reviews. We like hearing the feedback. But more importantly is that it helps other people find the podcast, which we think is important because we want to share it with as many people as we can.
Mostly if they're positive, though. We want 5-star reviews.
Again, we want fun reviews.
Yeah. Depending on who you like, you can, give Tom 5 stars. You can give Damon 1 stars, but it has to be fun. Can't just be, you can't put 1 stars and type dishwasher. That doesn't help.
I'll tell you that. So if you want to trash Damon or me or Trevor, it's still at least give us 5 stars and then trash us. Give the 5 stars and then trash us in the comment. I'm cool with that. I care about the stars. I'm all about the stars.
Oh my goodness.
Damon's all about the content. So, all right. So anyway, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any place you can find podcasts. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home. Look for the one that says Disney and DVC. And, of course, look for the castle made out of microphones. That's another thing you can do. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on the show are our own, so please consult a DVC representative or Disney cast member about anything that we talked about today. Big thank you to our sponsors, Monera and DVC Resale Market. Please check them out, and of course mention that you heard about them from us. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion, of course more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.